All right, so today we're going to be starting with our first language. But before we get there, yesterday we talked about what is web development, what is front end, what is back end, the tooling that you need to have there in order for you to start building a site there. So we install this VS Code, which is our source code editor, which is going to help us out in the editing of our code because we don't want to do too much like formatting of code and all those necessary things that deal with coding. So you want to focus more on logic, like what you want, the result is what you want to focus on, but the code should be able to, or the editor should be able to help you out in other, petty stuff that you don't need to be doing yourself there. And we installed this VS Code because it's kind of a lightweight and it's come with the extension. You can extend it to fit into your system there like that. And I told you yesterday when you want to work with it, you need to open a dedicated folder because that's when you are going to get all the goodies that is going to give you. You don't just work with a single file. Just because you want to work on a page and that page is just one file, you just open the file directly in VS Code. It will work, but you now have all the necessary goodies that the VS Code is going to be giving you there like that. And that's why you need to open a project folder. And project folder is just a normal folder on your system that contain all the necessary file for the site you want to build. Because when you want to build a site, there's a lot of files that you can have under it, like the images you want to display on the screen, the video, or any other things that are related to that site. You're going to bundle them together inside one folder. So that anytime you want to check what you are using for that project, you already know that everything inside that folder is what you are using. Not that you'll be referencing something outside of it. You can do it too, but it's not good. Whatever you know that you're going to use for that particular project, all of that should be in a single one folder like that. Inside that folder, you can have a nested folder, but all of them they are related to that project. Not whatever that is going to be done in that folder must be something that is related to that project. Not that you now be bringing in something from another project into whatever you have inside that. Just know that it is for that project alone. Not that later when you need something like that, you now be connecting another project to it. No. If you need something that is inside it, you have to do copy and paste to the other one. And in order for you to be able to work with the project folder in VS Code, you just need to use the option of open folder. And once you click on it, it will open your Explorer out like this, and you go to the folder that you want to work with. And I told you yesterday, for now, we're only going to work with a single folder. But inside that folder, we're going to have a lot of folders too. But whatever we want to do is always inside that folder. Like this class 5 now is what I'm going to be using for you guys. But everything that we're going to be doing will be inside this class 5. And that class 5 too is going to have a nested folder. And inside it, we're still going to create some other folder that focus on a particular stuff there. And yesterday I said to create files in VS Code, you can quickly use this icon here. And to create a folder, you use this second icon there. So this one is going to help you to create file. For example, here I can create this app then .js like this. Then it's going to create the file like that. And if there is a mistake with the name, as you can see, you can rename or you can delete. It's something that you don't need here. And yeah, I'm going to be creating all these folders. So I'll be having the HTML folder. So, and I told you, anytime you create anything here, there's going to be a line around it. So this line that is showing here, it means whatever you do with these two icons, it will put it inside that place. But that's not where I want it to be. I want it to be under the class 5, not inside the HTML. So you can just click empty area. Once you click empty area, as you can see, the line is now around everything. So since the line is around everything, it means you are dealing with class 5 itself, not what is inside. So now if you click on this folder, now it will create another one inside class 5. So this one is going to be CSS. So I want to create another one too, but not inside CSS because the line is around CSS. So click empty area, click on this, then you are going to have this. Again too, I still need another folder here. Whatever project you want to do, this is the folder we're going to be putting there like that. And this is where we're going to start from, the HTML folder. So now that I want to put something inside HTML, what I need to do is just to click on it. So once you click, the line will be there. Your own line will be blue, or depending on the theme you are using. But because I'm using the theme here, so that's this one is showing this gray color. If I change the theme, you see that it will bring another color. But the line will always be there. The color will be different, but that line will always be there. So now what I want to create there is the file. And what is the file? The file I want to create here is known as page. When you talk about website is like a book. But you know, inside book, you are going to have different pages. The same thing too when you're talking about website. Website is a book, but inside it, you're going to have different pages. And what do we refer to as page when you're talking about website? Look at this side now. This is studio now, YouTube studio. But right now, I'm currently on my channel content. But if I want, I can go to the dashboard. And as you can see, that is displaying. You see that same site, but I'm seeing another set of content. So this is a page for dashboard. This is a page for content. So when you're dealing with a site, you are going to have different pages that display different content. If you want to have a single page and that page is the only one that is going to have all your content, just create one and you put whatever content you want there, which is what we are going to be doing mostly there. But when you are dealing with the real stuff, you are going to see that you have different pages. It's still the same site, but you are opening to a different page. And how do you connect those pages together? We'll be talking about linking of pages later on. And how do you create pages for your site? So to create page for your site is just by creating HTML file and you put the necessary content you want to display to the user. So the page, when someone says you create a page, what you are just doing here, you are creating HTML file, and that HTML file you are putting the necessary content that you want to display to the user there, like that. So how do you create the file? To create the file, you use the first icon there like that. And once you click on it, as you can see, it will bring out the that box for you that I'm waiting for you to type whatever file that you want to create there. So to create a file, it follows this pattern here. Whether it is the HTML or CSS or JavaScript, all of them follow this pattern. You are going to have the file name like this. So you are going to have file name. After file name, you have the dots, then followed by the extension of the type of the language you want to work with. Because we said we are going to be working with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So each one of them have their extension, and that's how VS Code is going to recognize that, oh, here now you are focusing on CSS. Oh, yeah, this file is focusing on JavaScript. Or yeah, this file is focusing on HTML, like that. So you are going to have the extension. So this is a pattern that you always have anytime you are creating any file. The file name will come from you, but the extension is constant, because I'm going to list out the extension that you are going to use for each one of the files. So when you are dealing with HTML, so you can name it anything, but right now I'm going to call it index, because that index has a meaning there. But the extension here, as you can see at the end, after the dot, is just this .html. You see some people write .atm, but always complete it with this HTML like that. So when you are creating an HTML file, or when you are creating a page, what you are doing there is create a file. The file, name it anything you want. Whatever name you are giving it, that same way you are going to load it on the browser. And that's why I said that index admin. When you are using index, you don't even need to specify it to the browser. The browser will look for the index by default in any folder. Once you load a folder and there is index there, the browser knows that the file inside the index is what's supposed to load for you when you don't specify any file. When you go to any site, if you don't specify where you are going to, there is a content is going to display for you. That's what we normally place inside the index. When you just go to www.google.com, you do not say you are going to search, or you are going to the email, or you are going to slash anything. Once you don't mention anything, it will show their index file for you. But any other one that you give a name apart from index, anytime you want to visit them, you have to mention that name along with stuff there. So that's why you only see me using this index a lot. And later on, when I'm creating different folder, I always have index in there. The reason I'm doing that index is because Anytime I just mention that folder, I don't need to mention the file that I'm looking for. Just give me the index directly. But if I need a particular file, then for example, like this one now, about.html. If you want to see the content of this one now, you have to, in the browser, you have to go to slash after the end of the URL that you're going to see later on. So you have to do slash, then followed by this about.html. If you don't put it, it will not give you the content that is coming from there. It will give you the one that is coming from index. Because index is always like the default stuff is going to show to you when you don't mention the file you are looking for. If you don't mention the file you are looking for, it will look for this index. If you can find it, it will display. If you cannot find it, then it will just show all the file that is there for you to pick one of them, because it cannot display folder. It can only display the content that is inside the file there. So this is the pattern you always see like that. So for the CSS too, when we get there, you see that we're going to be having something like this. This is a name that you want to use. So this name, anything before the dot, it's coming from you. You can call it anything you want. But after the dot, the extension is always the same. So for the CSS, the extension is the CSS here. This one, if I want, I can call it main.css like this. If I want, I can call it login.css. It doesn't care. But when you want to load it or when you want to use it later on, this is the name that you are going to use to call it, which you are going to see how to do that when we get to the CSS part. So, but you can give it any name you want, but that extension has to end with this .css. For the HTML, you can call it anything you want, but it has to end with it .html. And for the JavaScript too, there. So you can call this one to anything you want, but it will end with .js like that. So if I want, I can call it index, but the JS is very important. And as you can see, VS Code already know that I'm dealing with JavaScript. It's telling me down here that whatever I'm going to be doing here, or the suggestion is going to be giving me, is going to be based on JavaScript. So if you click on HTML, as you can see, it detects that we are using HTML language. And if it is CSS too, it will detect it that I'm using CSS language. So which means whatever I do here now, the suggestion is always going to be based on CSS like that. So, but if you use other editor, you will not see, like if you use your normal Explorer, or if you use your normal text editor that used to follow window, for example, Notepad. So that Notepad now doesn't care, because this one is also edit text. It will not format anything for you. It will not show any color, whatever stuff, because it's not for that. So whatever stuff you are creating here, you have to be the one that will type everything yourself. But we don't want to be doing that. We want this thing to give us suggestion there like that. So that's what we're going to be using this VS Code, because it's kind of like HTML features is there out of the box. You don't need to install any external stuff for HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. It's there by default. But if you want to deal with any other thing, then you have to extend it, as you can see here, this extension. So once you click on it, you are going to see, can you see currently I have 34 I install for training, but for the one I used to use for work is more than this, around 200 and something extension like that. But right now I'm using the training profile, so that's why if I go to default now, you see that there are more extensions, and you see that all this icon too will change. But because I'm using training, so that it's close to what you have on your own system there, even though there is a little difference, but it will still be closer to your own compared to the one I use for normal work there. So when you want to create a page, or when you want to create any website, the first thing you need to do is to create the HTML file. And how do you create the HTML file? Just go to where you want to place it, and you do the necessary naming that you need to do for the type of the file that you want to work with. If it is HTML, start with the name that you want, then end it with .html. And currently here we have this HTML. So right now we just created a file, but we want it to be a web page. A web page is just HTML file that contain the HTML tag and the content that you want to display to the user. I just mentioned something now, HTML tag, because that's the next thing that I want to do here. HTML tag. You know, I told you yesterday that HTML is going to generate element for you, like all the button, the image, it's going to generate. But how are you going to generate them? How are you going to generate them? You do them through what we call tag. So tag is what you are going to be using to generate HTML. So we have HTML tags like this, and these tags are what you are going to be using to generate the element. The button you are seeing on the screen, once you just call a particular tag that is meant for it, you see that design instantly on the screen. But how do you use the stuff? So when you're dealing with tags, we have three form of tags. So we have opening tag, we have the closing tag, and we have the self closing tag. So when you're dealing with tag, we have this opening tag, we have the closing tag, and we have the self closing tag. So there's some element here that this is the pattern they follow. While most of the elements follow this one here. And for every opening tag, if you are using this, you must have this closing tag. But this one, you can see from the name, it's closing itself. Once it's open, it will close itself. So, but here for the opening, this is the pattern it's following. You are going to have the tag name, and it go like this. So this is what when you see anything in this form, this is the opening tag, and when you see it in this form, this is what we call closing tag. So anytime you see it in this form, this is the opening, and when you see it like this is the closing. And for every opening, you always have a corresponding closing tag. But for the self one, it's combining the two of them together. So you are going to have the tag name and it's closed. As it's open like this, it's closed directly. Like this. And the video will be there. I'm recording already. So as the thing is, opening it, it's closing directly. So we have opening tag, we have closing tag, and we have the self closing tag. Anywhere you see this one, you only see this one following it. If it's not following it, that's error. You are doing, even though the HTML will not complain, but on the screen it might not see what you are expecting this thing to show. But it doesn't show error. That's why it is the most simplest language. If you do anything that you are not supposed to do, it will not give error. It will still help you, like it will still try to display the stuff. But sometimes it doesn't know what to do. It will just display things anyhow. But when you are dealing with other language, all those ones, if you do anything like this, they will tell you you are doing nonsense here. Come back and fix it. So like that. So for every opening tag, you're always going to get a closing tag. But for this one, as it's opening, it's closing itself like that. But almost all the tags follow this pattern. Like let's just say like 80% of them, this is the pattern that it follows. We are going to see some of them in this form. For example, here now for the tags, I have this H1, then you have the content, and you have the closing. So this is the opening, and this is the closing. And for this one, anytime you open, the content that they want to change is always in between the opening and the closing. So this is how it used to be. Once you open, the content will be here, then followed by the closing tag. It doesn't need to be on the same line like this. So you can even move them on a separate line. But the content will always be in between the opening and the closing. But it doesn't care about the spacing that you have. Even if you like, you can put more space. All this spacing, they are in and there. When you get to the browser, it will remove them. So by the time you get to the browser, everything will just be together. But for your own reading sake, you can move them to a different line. But the major thing is that the content must be in between opening and the closing. For all those ones that have open and close, the content has to be in between. But for the one that is self-closing, you cannot even put anything inside that one. You work with it in another way. For example, like this one now. So you can see it has closed. So you can't put anything inside it. But how do you talk to it to behave in different way? Because some of these your element, you want to reuse them, but the content they are displaying outside is different. Like the button that we have on this side now. You see that the button you have here is what you are going to have in another side. But the way they are displaying is quite different there. Like for example, like this. Which side can I open? So look at it here. I have this button here, but look at the button here too. But they have different design. The button here, what they are using here is what they are using here too. But what is happening here is not what is happening here. The same thing too, for example, like this image here, what they are using to display this image at that top. You see the same thing they are using to display this image here. The same tag. But you see that they are doing different stuff. This one is displaying this image, while this one is displaying another image. But this is the tag they are using, this tag. But you cannot put anything inside it. How do you now talk to it that you display image at this side and you display another image in the other side? So how do you talk to all these tags that doesn't have opening and closing? They are closing it themselves. So that's where this thing comes in. It's not for this one alone, but this is where you always use it majorly. And that thing is what we call attributes. Now we have tag, then we now have attributes, and this is what you use. So so we use attributes to provide extra information to the tags. So we use this one now to provide extra information to the tag. So your tag, some of the tag, they can behave in different way. But how do you tell it to behave in A or to behave in another B? Because the stuff that you are seeing that they are using here, let me see. Can I get a place where I can fill a form? Let me see. Okay, I'm not there. Let me see where I can log in. The one that can ask me to log in. Let me go to W3 school like this. So this is a site where you can go to learn more about all these tags. So they have a lot that you can see. They have a lot of tutorial about all this. It's just like it's just text. It's just here for like complimentary of the class. It's something that you can go there. But if you look at it now, they have this login or sign up. So let me click on their login. Let me click on their login page. Okay, can you see now? My email and it's expecting a password. But if you look at the way I'm typing it, that's not the same thing as this one is here. But they are using the same tag to generate them. So how does this one know that this is the way it's supposed to display? And this one too know that it's supposed to show what you are typing. It's coming from attributes. So there's an attribute that was applied to this one to give it extra information that okay, this is what you need to do. Even though this is your general way of behaving, but you, I want you to behave like this. So attribute is what you'll be using to control the behavior of your tag. So this image now, in order for you to know whatever you need to display to it, you need to supply an attribute that will make it to display the image. And how do you supply attributes? This one, when you are dealing with attributes, it only work with opening. So it only work with opening and self closing tags. Anytime you are using attributes, these are the only places you can use it. You can't use it with closing tag. We don't put attribute inside closing tag. We only put it inside opening or the self closing tag. So those are the only places. And how do you put the attributes? So this is how it works. So you are going to have the tag name. No, normally when you're opening, this is how it's going to be. So after you open your this thing here, the tag, after the name, you give a space. Then whatever that follows it is what we call attributes. An attribute have this pattern. That's why I'm bringing all this in before we start using them, because all of them follow this pattern. Once we started using them, you see that this is the same pattern that they follow. The difference there is the text that you are typing. They're like that. So it's going to have the name, whatever the name of the attributes they want. Then it have this sign. Then it's going to have this quote there. Why doesn't change my keyboard? So it's going to have this quotes, and inside the quotes you are going to add the value, and this is what we call attributes value, and whatever here is what we call attributes name. So this is attributes like this. So this is the pattern that you only see the attribute. You are going to see the name here, and inside the quotes you are going to see the value for that attribute. For example, that image now, in order for it to display an image for you, you need to give it the image to display. But how do you supply that information to it? You use the attribute. And the attribute for that is this. So we have this image, then the attribute name is SRC. The full meaning of SRC is just the source. Where is the image coming from? Then in front of it, you just pass the source of the image. And you're going to see how to do this when we are talking about that tag. So as you can see, this source now is what we call attribute name. Then this whatever stuff you pass inside the quote is what we call attribute value. So which means this same tag now, I can use it to display different image on the screen. Where are you going to supply that information? Is inside there. So for the first one, we want you to display one particular image. For another one, we want you to display something else out there. For example, here now, if I inspect the code that generates this one, you are going to see that the code here, the tag they are using for this one is what they are using. Can you see? The tag is impute. Like that. So we are going to talk more about them. I want to get to the form part, but I want to see how to do something like that. Can you see the second one too? You see that they are the same tag, the same thing. Impute, 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 impute. But there's some attributes here. We have another attribute here too, but their value is quite different. If you look at it, this one, if you look at the attributes for look at it, we have the impute. But now look at this second one. There's an attribute here that is known as type. But look at the type they supply. It is what? Password. Let me expand it more so that you can see it. So look at the input. So look at this input here. This is a tag. For all this class, type, name, autocomplete, placeholder, value, they are attributes because we are using them to supply extra information to the tag. This input that you are seeing here is the tag that you want to display on the screen. But you want it to behave like you want to give it some extra functionality. What do? You give it the attribute. Because it's not just only one attribute, but look at it. The attribute always follow this pattern. The name of the attribute followed by this symbol. Then inside the quote, you are going to give it the value that you want. So this input alone is having this number of attributes, the class attributes, the type attributes, the name attributes, autocomplete attributes, and it having this placeholder attributes. Again, too is having the value attribute. But if you look at it, the same thing that this one is having is what this second one too is having it. But the difference there is the value that you are supplying into the attribute. You know, this one has its own placeholder. The value there is email. But if you look at the placeholder of this one, as you can see, the value of this one is password. And that's what is displaying. And what that placeholder is doing there is that the text you want to display can you see now? So whatever you place inside the placeholder, that's what is going to show before you start typing like that. And you're going to see all this in when we are talking about form. This one is just to show you what is the tags and what is attributes are there, because that's what you always do. No matter what you want to do with HTML, you generate element. And in order for you to generate element, you need a tag. And if you want your tags to behave in, if you want your element to behave in a different way, you need to supply the attribute that will make it to behave the way you want it. And those are the stuff we are going to learn from the HTML part. Which tag do we need to use to generate button? Which tag do we need to display image? Which tag do we need to use to link a page to another one, and so forth. Those are the stuff we are going to learn from the HTML. Then from CSS, we now start styling them. Then we now add JavaScript to add the necessary interaction that we need here, like that. So this is what you need from the HTML. But how do we use it? Because this one is just to explain what is you're going to be doing. Where you are going to be working is inside your HTML file. And you know, a web page is just HTML file with the content that you want to display to the user. And when you want to display content to the user, we have the structure that you have to follow anytime you are building a page. Anytime you are building a page, there's a minimal structure you must always follow. But luckily for us, we don't need to do all this thing from our head. VS Code have this thing out of the box. It will generate that structure for us because it's something that you always do every time. So to generate the structure, what you can just do here is to type doc. Once you type doc and you press enter, can you see? It will generate the structure for us. This is the structure for any page that you want to work on, any site that you see online. This is the minimal structure. So the first line here is talking about the version of HTML you are using. And this one is saying that we are using HTML5. So this is how we talk to the browser that we are using HTML5, because we have HTML1, HTML2, HTML3, 4, and 5, which is the current one. And the first line is going to talk to the browser that you are using HTML5, 5 there. So the other one that we have there is this head, and as you can see that they are now following the pattern that I talked about. This is the opening tag of the head, and this is the closing tag of the head. And as you can see too, inside it is now having the content. So this is what I call the content of head. But that content of head can be tag or it can be normal text, because that's what you'll be doing. Is that you put another tag inside it or you put normal text in it there. But what you always have inside the head, the basic one, is this title here that you need to know for now. The basic one is this title. And what that is going to do, what is going to, can you see at the top here, is displaying this login. The text is displaying on this side here. So where is the browser getting that stuff from? It's getting it from whatever you use as the title. So anytime you go to any site, you always see that their title is always there. Look at the Figma. Can you see their own title? For the Facebook now, this is the title. So where is the browser getting all these text from? It's getting them from whatever you put inside these titles. And that title is always inside the head. This head here is just to supply the information to the browser. It's not that's not the major thing that the user wants to see, but it's to pass information to the user. And one of the major information here is the title of the page you are working on. Now, when you are working on login page, you give it whatever title, and that's the reason why you see that this site here, they gave their login pages particular title login. So if I click on sign up, now, like that, it's supposed to change. I'm currently on the sign up page, but let me reload. They did not update their title, but let me wait for it. They are still using login for the two of them. But currently, I'm on this sign up like that. But let me go to another site. Like I see kind of content. So let me click on comments, and it has changed. So it will see the title for that page and pick it up. The browser will only speak whatever you have inside the title. So if I click on that channel dashboard along with the other text, if you click on copyright, then the title for that page, and again it's going to display the content for it. Like that. But here they are using advanced stuff to build this page, which is what you are going to be seeing later on when we are using framework, because they use a framework here to simplify the process. And if you look at it, the thing did not load the entire page. You see that some other content are not changing, but the only thing is changing is this side. It's because they are using a framework that only replaces a particular stuff that is changing. The one that is not changing, it doesn't touch it. But if you want to do this thing yourself from scratch, it's going to take a lot of time. But there's a framework that has been developed already to simplify the stuff for you that you can do something like this. But first, you need to know about HTML, because on this page, what they are using to is just normal HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. But that framework is developed on top of it. As you can see that I just show you for every site, this thing will always be there. And you can see that the head. Then from there you now have the body. But their own is having some other items attached, which is the attribute now that I talked about. So this ID now is an attribute on top of this body. So this HTML now, the attribute is lang, DRI here, and all this one. Yeah, anything after the tag name, they are called attributes, like that. So, and as you can see here, their own, they are using some kind of a crazy stuff, which is a framework, and this framework is known as Angular, like that. But we are going to be dealing with a simple framework, which is React later on. We have a lot of framework for JavaScript, so that's the one that is more. Is the one that was going to be on the number one, which is React. That's why I pick it up here, because it's the one that have more job compared to the other one, like that. So if I click on this, I see 10 best, they pick 10 out of the, because it's not just 10 that we have for JavaScript. 10 best is what is showing, like that. And if you look at the attribute that we have, you can never pass from one to pass, and mostly it's always a one. As you can see, it's always a one in number one, because it's a popular one, but there's still a lot of other. So this is Angular. They are the one that created the stuff, so it's Google that created the stuff, so that's why they are using it. So like that. But we're going to be using React later on. But before you can use it, as you can see, you need to understand JavaScript. You need to understand HTML and the CSS there. Like that. So when you want to create a page, once you use the doc, so this is one way of doing it, what I just mentioned. When you want to create your page, just type doc. You can see it bring out this pop-up here. So this pop-up here is part of what VS Code is giving us. You will not see anything like this in other, if you use other editor that doesn't have all these goodies. But VS Code, it understands doc that you want to create a page. Once you mention doc, it's not only this thing that you can type, but there's still another one that I normally use, which is what I'm using. So once you type doc, it will bring out this model. Once you just click on it, it will complete, like it will generate the stuff for you. This is one. Another one you can use is this exclamation mark. So once you type exclamation mark, it will bring out these two. But the one you need is the first one. So once you click on it, it will still do the same thing. It's just they are doing the same thing, but we have different ways of doing it. Again, too, I can type HTML. Can you see HTML5? So once you click on it, it will
do the same thing.
So, but the one I normally use is this exclamation mark.
It's just one character that I'm typing.
Instead of typing multiple character, and once you press it down, it will bring the
Database structure
that you have, which is HTML5,
file.
HTML5 structure. So inside the HTML5 structure, we have this doc type, which is specifying the version of HTML, the HTML itself, because everything have to be inside HTML. That's why I say this is the opening tag and this is the closing tag. So inside it, we have the head, which is the one that gives the browser information, which are this opening and the closing. So that one too, it has some stuff inside it. And the major one is this title. But where you are going to be spending 99% of your time is this body, because this is where you are going to put the content you want to display to the user. Whatever content you want to display to that, please always make sure that it is inside body, not outside of it. Even if you put it outside, the thing will still display for you, but that's wrong. Whatever you want to display on the screen will always be inside the body. But what do we want to display? The content. But what type of content? Those are the stuff we are going to be talking about them, because we have different type of content you want to display to the user. Is it text, can say, or is it image, or is it form? So those are the stuff we are going to focus on. Do you want to discuss? Those are the main elements you always see on every site. Whatever site you are going to visit these days, you see image or you just see form. Those are the major things that you always see. Text, image, and or let's just say media. Don't let us call it image, because image is part of media, where you can see video, can see audio, and so forth like that. So all of them are other media. So you have the text, the content can either be text, media, or form. And form is what you use to interact. When you want to post on Facebook now, you know you have to type some stuff in a box before you post it. That thing is using the form controls. And you're going to see how to generate each one of them, which is what you are seeing on this site. Before you can sign up on this page, they need to get your email, password, first name, and last name. But what are they using to collect this? This is what we call forming. How do you generate the form? We talked about it when we get to that particular class there, which is going to be next week. But major thing you only see on every site is the text, media, and the form. Every other thing they are just auxiliary there are like that. But how do you generate? Because that's the first thing we need to focus on, the basic one, which is text. So how do we generate text? Because you don't just type the text like this anyhow. You have to use a particular tag that will give you the type of text you want on the screen. So when you want to generate the text, we have two major types of text. We have heading text and we have paragraph text. So we have heading text and we have paragraph. Some other one is just this like a list, but this is a list. So we have what we normally use to generate a list, but we're going to see all those one later on there. But the major one here is that how do we generate this type of heading text? Heading text is just the major text on the page that describe what that stuff is all about. If you go to this title, you see that each section actually have a title. Can you see? This is the title for this list. If you go down and go to other section, you see that some other title here, like that. So scroll down. This is doing a lot of work. Let me go back to this W3. Click on the site itself. I'm going to see, as you can see, this is here. This is another text, but very smaller to this one here. And again, if you scroll down, you see that you can see there's another title here, like that. These are title for the CSS. They have title for JavaScript. But see that there are different sections like that. And again, see the title. But the size is quite different. So how do you generate this kind of a title? So we're going to see how to do that today. Another one here is paragraph. Another type of text we have here is known as paragraph. And you can think of paragraph as just normal text like this. So all this normal text is what we call paragraph. Any text in this form, they are called the heading text. Anyone in this form are called paragraph. And how do you generate them? So to generate heading in HTML, we have 6 levels. To generate heading, you can use this your H1 all the way to H6
These are the 6 levels of headings.
that we have. So this is the highest. So hello world. But if I want, I can generate another one too here. So for example, H2 here, the same text, but you are going to see that they have different size by default.
HTML will give you some default styling.
But you can change it later on with your CSS like that. And you can change it with your CSS. Complete it for me now. So H4, as you can see now, I'm using AI.
I don't need to type a lot of things
To complete the stuff for me. This is one of the advantage
of using normal source code editor.
not just using. So now say
We have our source code like this.
but how do we see the
Results.
we have the source code.
How do we see the result on the browser?
So we have different way of doing it, but I'm going to show you the best one for training.
Because when you are developing application, as you are making changes in your code, you want to be seeing the changes on the browser instantly. You don't. Yes.
This body.
Yes.
Okay, we are going to use from 1 to the 6. We are going to use everything.
No, you're not going to you. I'm just showing you that these are different levels of
Any time. The one you need is what you call.
but because I'm explaining right now, that's why I'm using
All of them.
but later on, it's all of them that I'll be using. It's only the time I need it.
H1, I will call H1. The time I need H3 is when I'm going to call it.
Not that I will just be using them anyhow like that. But because I'm
Showing you now, because this is our first time now.
later on and when we are using it, I won't even be talking about
What this is, I will just be using them straightforward.
because I'm explaining it now. That's why I'm showing you that these are the
6 levels of heading that we have that you can use from.
and each one of them is this one is the most important one. Then this is the one that follows it. Then this one follows. So if you have a title on the page and that's the most important title on the page, you use
H1. The one that is like a subsection to it,
then you follow by H2. If there's any subsection where you use H2,
you follow by H3
and so forth like that. But the lowest we have is this
6.
like that. So I'm not saying how do we see
See the result on the browser.
because now we are only seeing the code. We are not seeing any
Results.
of what we type now on the browser. So, and in order for you to see results here, we need to connect this our VS Code
To the browser.
so that anytime we do anything here,
It's going to notify the browser that something has changed in our code. Reload the page and display the new content.
and that's where the first extension that we're going to install comes in there. Because the extension is known as Go Live. This is it here. This is Live Server. So this extension, I have it already. That's why it's showing. But at your own side, it's not going to show. So to install extension, you click on this extension icon and you search for Live Server. Just like the name, it's going to create a server that will connect your code
To the browser.
so anytime you start it and you make any changes here and you say,
It will reload the browser instantly.
not that you have to go there and do the job yourself. No, all this little stuff, we don't want to be doing it.
These two should be able to help us.
To do it. And this live server. So when you see there, my own is showing this GI icon now. It's because I've already installed. But your own, what you're going to see there is installed. So what you just need to do is to click on it. Like that. The one you need is this live server, not this live server 5. The one is this one. So once you click and install, you see that in your code now, it will be showing this
Go live down here.
and anytime you want to use it or anytime it's not working at a particular time there, what you are going to see is
Go live.
so but make sure you are inside the file
That you want to run. That you want to see on the browser.
once you are there, you click on Go Live.
This is one way of doing it.
Another way of doing it is by just right clicking on the file itself. As you can see, you are going to see the option here too. So if this one is not showing, which will only show like that. If it's not showing there, you just right click on the file. You are going to see
Open with
Live Server. But I'm going to use this one because that's what we'll always be using every time like that. This down here. Once you click on it, you see that it writes starting. And once it starts, can you see, open the browser instantly. And everything that we type are going to display. And look at our title. It's showing at the top, which is something I can update. So let me move them side by side so that we can see them like that. So now go back to the head. Instead of this to be title, I will just say that first HTML5 like this. So once I save it, it will reload the page. And as you can see,
it will update the content that I changed. And if I change anything here too, once you save, it will reload the browser instantly. So if I put hello world from first HTML file like this, so save, it will reload, and as you can see, we see the result instantly. That's the job of live server. It's there to connect whatever we are doing in this VS Code to the browser. This is what we need right now until we get to the framework later on. That one come with its own server too. Like that, because live server cannot work with framework. There. So, but with normal HTML, JavaScript, and CSS file, you can work with them. And once you do any changes here, you save, you see your changes on the browser instantly. And as you can see, H1 is bigger than H2. H2 is bigger than H3 by default, but you can actually change it with CSS. That you make H6 to be bigger than the other one. Because with CSS, you have the power to change anything that you want there like that. So to create a page, the first thing you need to do, go to the folder where you want to put the page. Right click on it to create a file, or just click on it and click on the file here. Name it anything you want. For example here, login.html. So once you create the file, as you can see, it will be empty. The next thing you need to do is to generate the structure. And once the structure there, you can use this exclamation mark, you can use doc, or you can use HTML, and you click on file here. So once you click on it, as you can see, it will give us the basic structure where you just need to change the title. So here now I want to call it login page. But what are the stuff that you want to display to the user? So that's what is going to be inside the body. So here I'm going to have H1. Inside my H1, I will just say login page like this. Then after H1, I don't want to have any heading. What I want to have is just a normal text. So how do you put a normal text? That's where paragraph comes in. And for the paragraph, to generate it, we have a p tag. You can see all the naming, they are coming from what they are doing. Paragraph, P. H1, heading. That H is just talking about heading text. But the one there is talking about the level. So that means heading level 1. H2, heading level 2. H3, heading. Almost all this tag, most of the time, the name of that tag is just related to, or the first letter from what they are doing, or the name for them. Some of them. So doesn't follow that pattern. You have to pick a letter from the beginning and the end, or in the middle, because as one of the tags is already using that stuff. For example, like this image that you are going to be seeing later, as you can see, this one is 3 letters. So the img is just called from image. They just pick the letter from image to just represent the tag. So all these names used to come from what they are doing. So for the paragraph now is this P, and this P is just to generate a normal text. And in VS Code, because I don't have time to be typing the text from my head. So VS Code actually comes with dummy text that you can use to represent whatever you want, and that is known as this lorem. So once you type lorem, by default, it will generate 25 dummy words for you, but you can actually tell it the number of words you want. So if I put 5 here now, it will only generate 5, as you can see. So it will generate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But if you don't give it the number of words you want there, it will generate 25 by default. It's just a dummy text to represent the content I want to show on the screen. But that is not showing. Why is it not showing? Because on the page, we are showing index.html. But the file we are editing is login. No, they are not the same thing. So in order for us to see this one, we need to stop our server, because that server is connected to. You can actually do it from the URL here, but I don't want to do it for now. What you can do here is to just, when your server is running, it will show you port 5500. So just click on it, it will stop it. And once you stop, as you can see, it goes like it's back to normal now. If you reload this page, it will not work again because server has stopped. So what is connecting them together is no more there. So nothing will happen. So it means they are not connected. So in order for you now to display login, not index again, first you have to be inside the file. Then you click on go live. So once they start now, you see that it will bring out our login page. As you can see, our H1 and our paragraph, the texts are quite different. Even though you can change it later on with CSS, but this is what it's going to give you by default. And as you can see, the title is matching the title that we specify here. Then the H1 is here. And if I want to, maybe after this one, I want to use my H2 now. This is level 2 now. And from there, after this level 2, I want to have another paragraph of 35. So which is going to generate 35 dummy words for that place. As you can see, level 1 paragraph, level 2 another paragraph, and you can generate multiple paragraphs together there like that, and it's going to separate them like that. So yeah, after this P, I can generate another paragraph again, maybe Lauren 15, just to generate 15 dummy word like that. And once you come outside, that spacing is here. So this is the first P, and this is the second P. And that spacing that is here, we're going to see what that spacing is doing, how to remove it, how to add more to it when we get to the CSS file. But for now, we're only focusing on how to generate elements. We don't care about the style. It's when we get to the CSS that we now, oh, this thing is not looking nice. Let's change it to something that is more appealing to the user there, like that. So that's what is going to be there. So right now we've talked about the text. We talked about the heading text, like from our H1 to H6. We talked about the paragraph. For some of the text that we have here, we actually want to format them. So we actually have some basic formats that we can do. So basic, let me even use my H1. So we have basic formatting that we can do without CSS2 from HTML to our text. And we have a lot of them, but these are the basic one that it's always going to be there. One of them is this bold text. Look at it now. All your H1 to H6 by default, they are always bold, right? But at some time, you want part of your text to, like your paragraph, to be bold, or you want to make your text to be in italics, or you want to do some other stuff like underline the text. So look at our text now. It's not bold, but the H1, the H2, and the H3 that I created here, once it's on the screen, you see that they are bold by default. But I want to be able to bold part of the text too. So how do you do that? You can use a tag that is meant for that. Again too, you can use this italics, you can underline text. Who asked you to be doing all this? Just use my H6, the H3 directly. This AI sometimes used to do what I don't understand. A3, A3, and as you can see, something is happening. I want to correct the tag. I have to change both the opening and the closing tag, and there's an extension we're going to install it down. And once you change one, it will change the other one for you, because you don't want to be doing it 2 times like that. So once you change one like this, if I just remove this one, change like this, the other one too will change instantly. As you are deleting here, it will be deleting the corresponding one at the other side. So once we install that extension, you are going to see it there. Again too, you are going to see this print here to the town. See that my code now, as you can see that the text was actually on one line, but it's formatted them so that they be on a separate line. For your own side, it will not be like that. It will not work. It will just, the way you type them on one line, that's the same way everything will just go. But you don't want that thing to be like that. You want the thing to format your code so that it's readable like this. So that's why we're going to be needing this prettier later on. And if you want the thing to be spell check, as you can see, it's saying that all these things are not English words. That's why I draw this blue line on top of it. That's an extension I'm using here, which is the spell checker. So to check your English too as you're typing whether it's correct, so that you can quickly make correction to the stuff like that. So it comes with a lot of extension you can install. For example, if I type something that is wrong here, you see that if it's, you see, you know that that's not a valid English word. That's already underlined. Can you see? It's not saying the unknown because it doesn't recognize that English word. So that in case you are typing something later on, not that when people are not seeing it, you now say that, oh, this spelling is wrong. From your code say you will have already detected that, so what I type here, and it will even help you out. If you type anything that is wrong, you can quickly over on it. You see that there is spelling suggestion. So once you click on it, can you see it will bring out different suggestions. Oh, this is the one that I'm supposed to type, and it will correct the stuff for you like that. So it's come with all these goodies, but you have to install some of them before you see all this functionality like that. So under the text formatting here, we can bold our text, we can make our text to be in italics, and we can underline our text. How do you put bold a text? So let me generate a p tag like this, and let me just say that this text should be bold here and there, Lauren lorem 10 to just generate some domain 10 words. So now if I save it, this thing is not going to bold at all. If you go there, as you can see, the one that said this text should be bold, but it's not bold. So how do we bold it? We actually add a tag that you can wrap this text and it's going to perform whatever you want it to do. So in order for this text to be bold, what we just need to do is to wrap it in the B tag on the strong tag. So when you want to bold a text, you can either use this B tag or you can use the strong tag. But don't forget anything that is tagged. You know that it has to be in this format that I talked. So this B tag. So to bold a text now, what you just need to do is to put the text inside the tag that you want the stuff to be. So here now up to this place, you can cut it, then we can generate the B tag. And look at what I just did. Just type the name of the tag, then it will bring out suggestion for you. So any one of them that matches what you want, once you click it, it will complete the tag. It's not a must that you do it yourself. You can do it too. Like here now, instead of me doing like this, I can just say B. Like, can you see that it's T? Close it for me. That's VS Code in action. But if you use your normal editor or your notepad, it will never do anything for you. The color too, you can see all the tag. They're in a particular color. Everything is not the same color. But if you check, if you use your normal notepad, it will not give you any of this. You have to be the one that will be formatting it yourself, which is waste of time. So here now inside the B tag, we can paste whatever we want to bold. So this B means you want to bold the text that is in between it. And once you save now and check on the page, can you see now? Only that text is bold. Even though there is some other content beside it, it doesn't care. The only thing your opening and closing tag focus on is what is inside them. They don't focus on what is outside. Whatever you put inside them, that's what they are going to affect. Whatever stuff they need to do, it will only happen to what is inside that tag. And instead of you using that B, you know they are of two types. So you can use this strong like this. So strong. But instead of you typing is just waste of time like that. So you can just type only the name of the tag. It will bring a suggestion for you. Press enter, and it's going to display the stuff like that. And once this thing is saved, you see that we are going to have that text both out too. So as you can see, this one too has been both like that. So you can use B or you can use strong. So for the italics, when you want to make your text to be in italics, we have two tags for this one too. You can use the I tag. They have single tag. You can see the name italics. They just pick the I from it. Or you can use this EM, which is for emphasis. That's where they pick the EM for. Like that, they pick it from that side. So let me create a tag here too. So lorem like this to just generate some random 25 words. So now I want to make this text to be in italics. So what we can do here is to put it inside the I tag or to put it inside the EM tag like that. So anywhere you want text to be slant, as you can see here. So this is the italics. So this is the style it's going to give you. Because an assignment that you're going to work on. So and it has all these things there. So yeah, the last one we have this so lorem like this, save like that. So if you want, instead of using I, you can actually use EM if you want. So for example, like this one here, instead of using I, we can just use EM. Both of them will do the same thing. So which means you can use I or you can use EM. That's what that is. Same thing with B too. You can use B or you can use strong. They will do the same, because if you look at it, there's no difference. This is B and this is strong, but there's no difference. So this one was introduced in HTML5, the strong and EM. But before HTML5, we already have B, we have I at that time. So all these things will do whatever you want them to do. And when you want to underline, you can guess this one too. So to underline, you just use U. So like that. And it's going to see all the name for the tag. They are coming from what they are doing. So that once you just call their name, you already know the tag straightforward. Not all of them, but major like 90% of them follow that pattern. So save, as you can see here now, down, you see that the line is under the text. And you can combine them together. That's the power there for this HTML. Because you can see now we put U inside P. If you want, you can put P inside U later. But here now I can put a particular text inside the I, inside the B, and inside the U. So that I can have the three effects on one elements here or on the text that I want. So if I want here now, I can just put everything. For example, here P, testing all the formatting like this. So lorem 35 to just generate some domain 35 word. So now if I want this text to have all the formatting, I can apply it there. So this text now, what I can do here is to firstly put it, have the B tag. Let me put it on a separate line so that I can see. So inside the B tag, as you can see, I can use the I tag. Inside the I tag, I can use the U. Then here, I will now have the content. So what this thing is going to do is that it will apply the underline to the text. After that, it will apply the italics formatting there. And again, too, when it's done with that one, it will now bold the text. But on the screen, you just see everything directly like that. Can you see? It will bold, it will underline, and it will still be in italics on the text. But if you look at it, I put everything on different line, but on the screen, it's still showing one line. I'm going to talk about all those one in the next line. That's why I told you that this thing doesn't care about all your spacing that you are doing here. And that's the reason why I have this preacher. Even the preacher will close. For your own side, if you have something like this, it will leave it like that. But on the page, it will not be there. But from my own side, as you can see, it's closing it. That's an extension that is checking my code, whether I type nonsense or not. Anyway, you see that this thing is not needed, to just remove them. Because it knows that all this spacing is just waste of space here. On the page, you will not see anything like that. Anywhere you use multiple spacing, the only thing you just see is a single one. To convert all of them to single space. So which means all this moving to next line here is just for me to see the code. On the page, as you can see, everything will still be on one line, even though here they are on a separate line. But at some time, you want it to behave like this. You want them to be on a separate line. Even they are not on a separate line, you still want them to be on a separate line. That's where these tags comes in here that you can use. So we have these two tags. We have the break line and we have the horizontal rule. The one you always use most of the time for now, not break link rule, break line. So this one is what we always be using for now. To move any content you want to move to a new line. Any content that always be on one line, you can break them to multiple line there. And what do you use to do that? We have for this one now, we have BR, and for this one, we have HI. And this is going to be our first self-closing tag we are going to be using. For two of them, they are self-closing tag. You see that everything we have been using since, you have opening and you have corresponding closing. The I is opening here, it's closing here. U is opening, it's closing there. And look at what listen to what I said, corresponding. See the way it's closed here. Not that because you open here, you now go and close B here. The tag must match the way you open and the way you close. Not that you want to do something like, for example, here now, you open, look at it, you open U here like this, or you open U like this. No, you see that you supposed to close, but you're now moving the U outside. This is wrong. Look at it. P open here. There's supposed to be a corresponding P that closes outside. But now you are now using something that open inside, you are not closing it outside. It's not making sense. Even though you are closing this one, but it's not corresponding. So it means this two is what you are closing, and this P is closing this. This one is closing that P, which is wrong. So when you are closing the tag, they must match. The one that is outside will always be outside. The one that is inside will always be inside. The P is outside, so that means you must close the P outside. The U is starting inside, you must close the U inside. So that's what we call the corresponding tag. Not just that you are typing the closing of the one that you open. It must be corresponding. So if it is the inside, that means here now, the way it's supposed to be is that the P must be inside. So now this is corresponding because the U is outside, then the closing too is outside. The P is opening inside and it is closing inside the U. So this is what we call the corresponding tag. Just because it's typed there doesn't mean it's corresponding. You have to look at the stuff. And that's why you see that here, P is the one that is outside. That's the reason why the P close last. The next one that follows it is B. So that means the B will be the next one that will close. Then again to the I, as you can see, it's closed. Then the inner one, which is the U, is one that see it's open here, it's closed. When this one is done, you see I too close. When I is done, then B is closed. Then when B is done, you see that there is P and P too is unclosed. So the thing must match. If you use a tag that is not matching, you'll be seeing some funny display on the screen because the thing is not closing the way it's supposed to close like that. So that thing is very important too. And lastly here, for today, is going to be this HR and this P that I want to add the BR. So now I have this content that I have here. But what do we want to do? Everything here, we want to move it to another line. You, for your side now, what you just say, oh, since I want to, let me just type it like this. This is wrong. Even if I save it now, you see that my printer will close it because it's seeing all this space as nothing. You can't press enter to move things to next line. It will not work. What it's just going to do is to create a single space. Everything you are doing here is as if you just press a space bar on your keyboard. So if I save it now, as you can see, everything will go back. But from your own side, it will not go. But on the screen, you'll still be seeing it like this. So how do you now make sure that the content is going to another line? We have a tag for that. And that tag is that break line, which is this BR. But this BR is a self-closing tag. As you can see, nothing is not having opening and it's not having closing. As it's open, it closes it because it doesn't work based on what is inside it. It works based on what is beside it. You know, anything that is open and closing, they work based on what is inside. Anything like this BR, it works based on what is beside it. And what it's going to do is that whatever that follows it will always go to another line, even though they are on one line in your code. But on the screen, you are telling the browser that the content should go to another line. And if I save it there, look at it here now. So this is what we have. Lorem ipsum dollar. The 6 now. No, it is after the BR. So since it's after the BR, it will take it to another line. And the more BR you apply, the more line is going to create for you. So if you need like 2 lines there now, maybe you press enter 2 times. If you want to mimic that one now, you just need to use 2 BR here. And if you save it now, as you can see, it will press enter 2 times. If you add it again, it will keep adding more this into it. So if I save it now, it means it will create 4 of it. But what's this other one? The other one there is this HR. The difference between them is just that this one will draw line. That's just this. HR, once it's break, it will draw line. BR, it will only break, as you can see, it's just empty. But if it is HR that is there now, HR, you see that that one is going to add a line there once it's break. It will break and it will draw that. That's why it is horizontal rule. It will rule that line there. But we don't use this one inside paragraph. It's always outside of element. That's why I put it outside the P. I can see that my printer is complaining already. Because once you do anything that is wrong, the thing will tell you that you are doing something wrong somewhere. Or there is one of your code that is not closed properly. Because those are the things you are going to face as a beginner. Deal like that. That sometimes you forget to close a particular tag. So now you see that there is one, we open it here. But we're supposed to close it here, but I forgot to do that. So if I save it now, it looks like everything is working. That's HTML for you. But there's going to be a problem if you're doing it with like H1 or H2 or so like that. So let me close this one. Even it closes for me, say, who asked you? I did not know. You see, the printer is returning it back because he's smart. He knows about this one that he can do this one. Let me see this one. Let me see if they want you to do this one. Let me just remove the slash. Normally, when you are closing, the slash is supposed to be here. But now I did not put the slash. Can you see what is happening? See that it's now affecting all the other content because it's still seeing all. Okay, you see this one open. This one open all to this. This is another opening again now. So let me just continue and look for the closing. It did not see closing. Can you see that it has converted all those fields to a bigger text? The thing is not working again. Now that why is my missing? So can you see printer itself? Can you see it has turned to red? So it's telling you that there is somewhere you need to close that you did not close. But I'm going to talk more about the printer later on because that's not the major thing right now. So here now, we just need to add the slash back because the printer cannot fix this one for you. Because it doesn't know whether this one is another H3 on its own. You can't just say this is closing. So So it doesn't have the say over that. But you cannot close it, to send you down. So you can close it now, save. Can you see now? Everything is back. So HTML will not complain, but sometimes what you are seeing on the screen will not be correct. And once you see that the thing is not correct, just know that something is wrong somewhere in your code there. So this is where I will stop for today, and I will be sending the assignments that you guys are going to work on the group. This video one is done uploading.